Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 10th of March, 2020, and I'm Roy Potter. Welcome. You can see I don't have my normal, music and all of that. My computer, as most of you know, when I was trying to do a live stream the other day, really kind of messed up. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it is still not working today. So we get to forego all that other formal business that I try to do for the show. you know, I guess that's a good thing. So, at any rate, I'll see if I can get that fixed. The bad thing about the phone, of course, is that when phone calls come in or things like that, you get the buzzing sound and, the ringing sound and all that. And I want to apologize for that, but that's just kind of how it is. Let me see if I can get this a little more situated there. Actually, I had my other setup done this morning, ready to go. Because, like I was saying, I should have tested the system. Pardon me, you know what this is. But I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and wait until I do another live stream, plan on a formal one, and then I went to do it, and it still won't work. So whatever, whoever, whatever uh, got to that last Thursday or whenever that was, I think that one's done. All right, well, enough whining, complaining. Thanks for being here as you come in. Uh, Roy, you two did not notify me. I know. This is getting really, really bad. They really didn't like my talk on the tunnels last week. They didn't like that one little bit. Good morning, Nancy. How are you? Nice to see you. Rattlesnake Ranieri, is that what that was? So I know the sound won't be as good with this, and the picture's usually a little better, which is kind of surprising, but the sound won't be, which is actually more important. And I can't adjust the lighting so that it won't make me look red. I don't look red like that. I put up the studio lights, and maybe it's a little too much actually for the phone. But we're set up now, so I'm just going to leave it. And next, maybe I won't. If I have to use my phone, I won't use the studio lights. So, what's the deal with the mark? Why did I decide to talk about that today? A lot of you will not be interested in this because I am going to get. Looks good? Well, thank you. You must be prejudiced. Again, hello everyone. Uh, I'm going to be covering something this morning a lot of people will think is nonsense or not worth the time. Yes, it's going to involve some scripture in the Old Testament, uh, but I think it applies to us, and the particulars will be evident to you as we go through. And really, for those of you who don't have a spiritual or religious foundation, um, the Bible, you don't have to. I'm not even asking you to look at it as coming from God. I won't even ask you to do that. What I'll ask you to do is I mean, if you have any respect for the great um philosophers of the time, Immanuel Kant, and um, well, I could name a bunch of them. Or if you've read stories like the Iliad and the Odyssey, um, those are stories that tell not just stories, tales, but give philosophical and historical and probably most important um, a way that we should conduct ourselves. Okay, that's really the importance. And our society today has totally. I mean, talk about a division. I've talked about that for many years. There's a division going on, and I've given it to Trump despite his failure in so many other ways to act. And I'm not going to get into the pros and cons of that today. Uh, whether he should or whether well, I'm going to kind of talk about whether he should or shouldn't, but I'm not going to get in there and just just go down a list of things that he's failing to do, like I often do, and things that upset me. Justice being one of them. And that's not going to happen. I've decided that that isn't going to happen, and we just have to understand that. And that's kind of why I'm doing this today. But we've had this great division, and in our country, I mean, the people that are evil, and I'm just going to call it that way for sake of the discussion, the people that are evil don't look at themselves as evil. They look at themselves as it's okay. And if they do look at themselves as evil, uh, that's even worse, in my estimation. But there really is this division that has happened, and so I, frankly, I was pretty upset last week. I was actually going to come on and I was going to say, I'm at another point here where I don't know that I should do this. Um, because as you all know, I can lose my temper pretty easy. When somebody promises to do something and they not, if they try and they fail, that's one thing. But when they don't even go down the right road, I get very upset about that, especially when they're in positions of leadership or power. So I was toying with that idea of just not bothering anymore. And of course, I did that little upload when I went out to do some pictures last night, and I sent that picture to you of that scene that now is a salt bed. Thought you'd find that interesting. So I was out there for several hours taking pictures at twilight, and when I got done, I was going back. I got a call from my son Jeremy, and a lot of you follow him. He has done a lot of great work on studying the Bible and has had some really powerful spiritual experiences. And I won't go into them much more than I'll just say they're extremely powerful individuals. He knows of whom he speaks. Let me just put it that way. And so he called me up and he says, uh, have you ever read? Well, he knows I've read. He says, have you pondered lately Isaiah 45? And I said, well, I know the Cyrus thing with Trump. I understand that. I know, that's a big thing, and then of course you also have the information in Daniel 10 through 12, which is about a lot of people, and I think they're right. It's about the latter day Antichrist. Um, but then he said something else that I thought was interesting. He said, well, why don't you go back and look at, and I'm going to say it in the Hebrew. Do you all know what Yekazkel is? Yekazkel. That's one of the hardest ones for me to say. Yekazkel. Yekazkel. Let's see if I can do it right. Yekazkel. Does anybody know what that is? That's the Hebrew for Ezekiel. Yekazkel. No wonder we couldn't say it. Someone had to say, oh, that's Ezekiel. Yechazel. Yechazkel. I always forget the kof there at the end. Okay, so he said, go look at Ezekiel again, chapter 9, verse 2. And actually, you could go through the whole thing, 2 to 11. And what am I talking about here? This division is occurring. If Trump, and Jeremy made this point, Trump isn't to fix anything. He should. I'm not saying he shouldn't. But his real purpose, he has stated it himself. He's not to support the Constitution. He's never said that, in a roundabout way. He's certainly not for the Second Amendment, despite his claims. Those that have supported him, many of them are rotting in jail or being sued or being beaten or whatever. While the people on the evil side, nothing happens to them. Jeremy said this. He said, Trump's only real job is to reveal the evil. And Trump himself says that. He says, the greatest thing that I've done in my presidency is to show the evil in government. And that I give him, and I always have. He has done that. He was the great revealer. Acting on it, piss poor. That's a nasty term, but it fits. But he's doing that, and that's really his calling. That's really what he's supposed to be doing. And he's done a great job of that. And then Jeremy says, so whose job is it to now pronounce judgment and execute that judgment upon the evil? And I said, well, that's obvious. God will step in. Now, I know some of this esoteric stuff, a lot of you people don't want to hear about it, but apply this to our situation about the types of people that we're dealing with. That's what I want you to do. So I sat back and I said, okay, all right. So in other words, you're saying that I shouldn't be so hard on him. And he says, no, I'm not telling you that. No, you can be hard on him. That's fine. Just don't expect that he's going to do anything, because he probably won't. His big thing is revealing the evil, and that's about as far as this guy's going to go. Very disturbing, very upsetting, but after I thought about it, I said, okay. So we talked about this Ezekiel chapter, and it ties into Revelation 14 as well, and Isaiah 45 too, and of course Daniel 10 through 12. What I want to do here, and I know a lot of you are going to get not like this at all, but I want to read Ezekiel chapter 9. With me on this, it'll take me about a minute, maybe two. Let's read this. I don't think I need these. I think I can do without them. Let me read this to you. I want you to hear this, okay? He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them to have charge over the city, to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate. This is prophetic, by the way, okay? This is a prophecy, all right? And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth towards the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand, and one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub actually is how you say it, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Now remember, all of this is allegorical at this point. This is a prophecy about what's going to happen. And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Let me stop there for just a second. How many of us are lamenting, are crying day and night, are who see this evil, these abominations, this debauchery, and I'm not talking about simple sins, simple mistakes. I'm talking about calculated evil, and mourn because of it, because of all the thievery and the murder and the debauchery and the slaughtering of the children and the corruption of our young. Transgenderism, gays, lesbians, they get more time, more respect than someone who upholds righteousness. And yes, I don't mind saying it. They can throw me off YouTube. I don't care. So let me read that verse again. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. In other words, those who are doing the abominations and all of that. Let not your eye spare, neither pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. All these people that have turned evil. Look at what we see today in Antifa, in the Democratic Party, and in the shadows, even in the Republican Party. It's everywhere. Just because somebody's a member of some organization doesn't make them bad or good. Their fruits do what they do. But the fact is that you can see where most of these people are congregating. You can tell by what they do. Look at Schumer. Look at Pelosi. Look at Soros. Look at Obama. Valerie Jarrett. Holder. Notice I'm naming most of the people on the left. James Comey. John Brennan. Let me read this again. Ocasio-Cortez and Rahib and Ilhan Omar. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark that you've placed on him. And begin at my sanctuary, in other words, his own people. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face. And cried and said, Ah, Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in the pourings out of thy fury? Then said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great. Apply this to you, apply this to us. And the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. There is no God. God doesn't care what happens to us, what happens here. He's not in charge. And the Lord seeth not. We'll hide ourselves in the rocks. Remember I talked about the tunnels, the rocks? And they'll do things in the dark because they think that God can't see them there. And they have these oaths between each other that they think will keep the good people from finding out what they're doing. And they think that's all they have to worry about. And as for me also, mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. We know who the evil people are. They've been identified to us without any question. There is no question who the evil in this world is, who they are, who they serve. They have something wrong with them in their hearts and in their minds. And that's why they receive the mark that Revelations talks about. They receive a mark too, in their head, in their forehead, and in their hand. And what does all this symbolize? It symbolizes what our hearts and minds are set towards. What is the mark that the angels place on the men who are crying and lamenting and mourning because of the wickedness of the land? What mark is that? You want to know what it is? This is the Old Testament, ladies and gentlemen. This is Yechezkel, Ezekiel, chapter 9. I'm going to tell you what it is. You go look up, those of you who have a Strong's Concordance and a Gesenius, go look up the word for mark that is used in Ezekiel. You know what it is? Do you know what the word is in Hebrew? It's the letter Tav. Some would say Tal. It's the actual phonetic Hebrew spelling of the Hebrew letter Tav or Tal. What is that? Tav and Vav. Those two together mean something. They mean something, and I'm going to tell you what it means. The Tav is the cross. The Vav is the nail. Who was nailed? to the cross. Yeah, that's the mark. The mark in the forehead. And it's not a literal mark that you see. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to worship Jesus, okay? I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's not what it means. It means desire. The mark is the desire to do righteously, to deal honestly with your neighbor, to support life, to do the right thing, righteousness, the right use of something. God will look a lot better on somebody like that than somebody who professes Jesus and goes out and steals and murders and causes wars and tries to take other people's rights from them, all the while saying how wonderful God is and Jesus and all that. Do you see? So the mark is that God will recognize those who are lamenting and mourning these things that He is showing them in this world, showing us. And Donald Trump has done that. He has lifted that veil off of there. Whether he wanted to do it or not, that was what he was supposed to do. God used him to do that. Now, a lot of us were already aware of this. We have been for years. You know, Nancy right there, Nancy Morgan Hart's there, and many of you. You know, I imagine BP Earthwatch is here, Jesse, and there are others, I'm sure. We've all known this, but a lot of people just didn't get it. They had to see it. And a lot of them, when they see it, they don't care. They don't care. They actually, by their refusal to call it out, join it. Do you understand? We're watchers, and then we're supposed to call. How does that go? Let every man that's been warned warn his neighbor. Now you can get obnoxious with that, you know. Then it gets into, you know, going out and doing missionary work and knocking on people's doors and bugging them. I talked a long time ago about what the true gospel is. It was to go forth to the world. And every little sect of Christianity or every little sect of religion thinks that that means them. No, it's the perfect law of liberty. That's the end thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's about liberty. That's the gospel that was to be preached, because that's what it means. Gospel, truth, the perfect law of liberty. Look for the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Free. That's the gospel in its most simple form. So the mark that Ezekiel used, the word that he used for mark, means nailed to the cross. It means, as Jesus said, you know, he did say this. He said what? Pick up your cross. Pick up your own cross, right? I've carried my cross. Pick up your own cross. Do an intrinsic inspection of yourself. I've often said you see sins in others so that you can examine yourself. They're a mirror. You look at them and they say, well, I don't like that. And then you say, gee, am I like that? And you check yourself out. Do I do that? And then you make the correction. As Jeremy said last night, what God has done here, he can do the work. He doesn't need us. What he does is offers us an opportunity to participate in the work that he's doing. So think about that. The word for mark in Ezekiel is Tav, the last letter of the alphabet, and it's spelled out of the Hebrew alphabet. When Jesus said, I am Alpha and Omega, what he really said is, I am the Aleph and the Tav. The Tav is the end. Okay, so the beginning and the end in Greek is Alpha, beginning, Omega, end. And in Hebrew, it's Aleph, beginning, Tav, end. So what he actually said is, I'm the Aleph and the Tav. And see how important that is in the Hebrew that you don't get in the Greek and in English, because the Tav means the cross. He says, I am the cross. That's what he's saying. I'm the beginning of everything and I'm the end of everything. And what that means for us is that we're responsible. We're the beginning and the end of ourselves. We select through our lives things that we do that define us. You know, it's like I often quote that Batman thing, you know, when his girlfriend, he's in his costume on the roof, and his girlfriend asks him, you know, the question, he goes, it's not what's It's not what's inside of me, but what I do that defines me. Well, it's because what's inside of you is what you do. So it's not quite right, but it has a lot of truth. So think about that mark that Ezekiel's talking about is the cross. And in in the way it's spelled, it means nailed to the cross. Most importantly, it means desire. It means an innate spiritual, emotional, a personal desire. You have desire for good. You have the tav on your forehead. If you don't, if you have the desire to do evil, and it's plainly manifest to us now, those who are doing it, the question is, what is the mark there? What mark do they use? Well, I tried to find that out. I went to Revelations. I hadn't really thought about it. And in the Greek, it's kind of problematic. In the Greek, if you read Revelations 14, or verses 9 through 10, you'll see that it talks about, the mark in the forehead and in the hand, right? That the beast has done, and the Antichrist and all that, the thing that we're entering into now with this whole cashless system that they're pushing, and they're really starting to push it even harder now. It was on, I think, CBS last night. The word in Greek for mark, the one that's used in Revelations, is, and I'm not good at Greek, it's karagok, something like that. And I can't actually say it very well, but that's about the way it is. Karagwa, something like that. Listen to this. It means scratch, etching, stamp. Graven mark. Well, what would that be? What would it be? Because in the Greek, it's too hard to tell what it is. Well, I have an idea. I think it's the tet. I think it's the tet, which is the 9th letter of the alphabet. As the good people get the tav, the cross, those who are evil are stamped with the tet. And it has something to do with the 666. Okay, I don't want to get too deep in all that esoteric stuff. But remember, I was very concerned when I saw that Trump was spelled in the Trump Heights that they made there in Israel, actually up north in the Golan Heights. They changed it to Trump Heights. They spelled his name with a tet, not a tav. And that concerned me, and it still does to this day. So what else could these marks be? Wow. Well, in the Old Testament it says not to mark or cut your flesh. And they're talking about tattoos and then the sculpturing that's going on today. That was done in a long time ago. It's considered evil. Yeah, sin means miss the mark. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it means, to miss the mark. It's a slightly different mark. In Hebrew, when you use that mark, it's a different word, and it means like a target. But that's okay. There are different words for mark, okay? Like we have mark the name, we have mark like market, mark something, those types of things. So there are different meanings in Hebrew too, and you tell the differences. The consonants remain the same, but the vowels change slightly, or the way they're used, the context. So, should people be getting tattoos? Well, I suppose there's an innocent side of that, but I've not gone that way. Yeah, mark his words, right? Jack Kennedy, right? Jack Kennedy, is that what that said? Jack Kennedy, yeah, it sure was. What do you know? All right. So I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on that today. I know a lot of you just say, I don't want to talk about this stuff, but you can take it from the point of view that the good is being revealed. As I said, this division is taking place and it's getting wider. The gulf between the two, the chasm, the abyss between the two is getting bigger every day. But I am sad to say that it looks like Jeremy's probably right. and a lot of other people. Monograph has been saying all along that there would never be any arrest, that justice will never happen, not by Barr, not by Trump, not by anybody, but that injustice will continue and it will become more and more evident. I'm not saying there won't be, but I think the judgments that we're going to see are going to be, like I said the other day, most of the disasters that have happened. I mean, we have natural disasters, but a lot of disasters that we have are caused by men. It's by their own actions, you know. And this bioweapon thing might turn into something really, really bad, or there might be another one. I don't know. I mean, yesterday, uh, or maybe it was Sunday, I guess. Uh, Congressman Getz was on Air Force One when he found out he had been exposed to that other individual with coronavirus, with Wuhan virus. They don't like you saying it because that's xenophobic. That's you're being mean. You're being racist and all that. No, Wuhan virus. I'll call it that. Wuhan virus. Now it actually came from the United States apparently, and looks like Obama sold it to the Chinese. He should be arrested and tried right now, and everybody else. But it looks like it's going to be something that God does that takes these people out. So, what's the end message for today? Be righteous. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means, if you do something, do it for the right reason. Sometimes it'll look like it's the wrong thing to do when somebody else looks at it, but it's what's in your heart. It's what your desire is, what your intent is that really defines it. And that's all I've got for you today. I thought you'd like to know what the mark that Ezekiel talked about actually was. And in the Old Testament, it was the cross. It was being nailed to the cross. Wow. I saw some things coming through on chat, and all of a sudden they stopped. So let's see what we got here. That's a good one, David Rice. Jail is overrated, hell is thus enlarged. Huh? That's a quote from somebody. I can't remember who it is, though. Uh, Maybe home in Greenland. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty good, isn't it? It really is. It absolutely is. Okay. I'm gonna. By the way, this is the lighting in here makes me look like I have bagged ice. It really isn't. I shouldn't even turn that on because it casts the wrong shadows. But this time change drives me crazy. We've got to stop this nonsense. I, I tell you what. You get up and you just, even the coffee doesn't kick you in. So, well, let's see. Yeah, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in other words, hunger and thirst after righteousness. You want to do the right thing. And sometimes you have to do really nasty things to do the right thing. But you're doing them for the right reason. Roy, what's up with Monograph's asteroid projection? I'm not really sure. Monty has this, and I don't want to get off on that too far, but Monty he's extremely intelligent, as I said. He sees things that others won't. Uh, and I'm not saying he's wrong. March 6th turned out to be true. I mean, we didn't have a dam break or anything like that yesterday, or I'm sorry, March 9th yesterday. But there was the stock market crash again. They had to shut the stock market down, the protection measures. And I imagine the plunge protection team went in there. This isn't looking good. And I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, this." Even Michael Savage said, "Oh, this is just a correction." No, it isn't. No. I'm not a financial guy. It's not a correction. This is a direct result of the supply chain interruption. That's not a stock market correction. I don't know why Michael Savage said that. He's totally wrong. But at any rate, so he was right. A thing did happen, and I think they've tried to shore it up, but I don't think it's going to last long. We're hearing about all of Italy is shut down now. All of it. They're not even in school over there. So this is whether, as we talked about, and this is a judgment against mankind. This is a plague against mankind, but God didn't do it. He just withdrew his protection from us, and we did it to ourselves, but because of our greed and our lust for blood. Wow, really, Nancy. Commander of U.S. Army Europe was exposed to the virus and is in quarantine. See what it's doing? Whether or not it's necessary, they're using it for this. Somebody is using it for this. So this is a judgment of sorts, and and the evil may have promoted it. I mean, Obama, it was all it was used to come back against the rest of the world and to put us under martial law and the New World Order, which is the old world order, et cetera, et cetera. That's evil done by evil people. But you see, when they do evil, it comes back on them eventually. So they're going to die by their own hand. They're going to suffer by their own hand. What they try to do to others is going to come back on them. It's just, Michael Cernovich said it the other day. It's karma, and I've talked about that before. But that's recompense for your wrongdoing. But at any rate, back on Monty, I'm not certain about the asteroid situation. I think it's supposed to happen. I think he said the 19th of April. I don't know, but we're sliding down this slippery slope really fast right now. I don't know if there could be an asteroid. I don't know exactly what he's looking at. I get a little concerned. Did you all see? And Monty, if you're watching, please forgive me. I think you're extremely intelligent and you do a lot of great work. But just as a caution, did you see A Wonderful Mind, A Beautiful Mind, with Russell Crowe, who played the mathematics professor? Did you see that? And in A Beautiful Mind, he got so concerned about finding symbolism and things that he went crazy. I'm not saying Monty's crazy, okay? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I think maybe he's taking it too far. In other words, if you know what you're trying to prove, an event that you're trying to prove, you start looking just for those things, whether they be in movies and newspapers like the Professor Nash did, who Russell Crowe played in A Beautiful Mind. He started to look for those things, and anything that even remotely resembled it, he thought it was a tie-in, and he had that crazy newspaper and all the lines drawn everywhere and all that. I think Monty's probably going a little too far. He's looking for evidence in places where I'm not saying that they weren't sending a message, but I think maybe he's probably taking it too far. And that's just between friends. Okay, that's my call on that. Not saying he's wrong, but I think he's going a little too far. Uh, there's something moving through space right now. Dabu 7 brought it up, and I had some people saying, Dabu 7, nah. Well, no, the information's still good. Why don't you say that about CNN and CBS and ABC and MSNBC and all that? What are you going, on them? I think he has put out a lot of good stuff, Dabu 7. I think he and Monty are friends too. Maybe they don't want me to say that. But at any rate, there's something going on out there. Whether or not you believe that space is what they say it is or whatever, all I know is that something is out there and it's moving around. It's real big, and who knows? Or it could just be that they're going to blow up a nuclear weapon in some ocean like the Atlantic, and say it's a natural disaster when it isn't. That's what I'm saying. These people are evil. So I'm not sure what to make of it all. I do think something. So I do believe that with all the things that are happening uh, now, I mean, we've been kept busy with this revelation, this revealing of all the evil, with absolutely no arrests of the really bad people, and all the excuses for that, which I don't buy. But I said I wouldn't go there today. But it's interesting how they've kept us occupied with that until they got this in place. The 5G, this bioweapon attack, the stock market falling apart. And I don't care about the stock market, by the way. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, don't say that." But what's really important is that our local economies are good. That's what's really important. But the stock market is a gauge. It is a gauge. Okay, let me see what we got going on here. Yeah, remote viewing, and by the way, I know remote viewing is real. I knew the officer who was the army officer um, who was actually I don't know that he was in charge of the program, but he was high up in it, and it's real. I'll just tell you, it's real. They actually do it. They absolutely do. Yeah, U.S. Army remote viewing, right? Joan Kelly. Yeah, like I say, I actually knew there was an officer that wrote a book called Psychic Warrior, and he was a classmate of mine. Okay, so yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Yeah, I did. Paul Vincent, I did. I did mention that Trump had been exposed both at CPAC and um, by Getz and others. That's another thing. Yeah, I mean, I talked about it yesterday. I said that doesn't even have to kill him; it could incapacitate him, and that'll mess everything up. He'll all of his if he gets sick, his his agenda ends. His agenda ends. Marantha, yeah, very good. So Monty is here. Is that right? All right. Well, I hope you're not mad at me, Monty. You know I have respect for you. There you are, Monograph Life, the groove, boo ha ha, hysterical. You know I have a lot of respect for you, Monty. You know that. I think you've done a lot of great work, and you've shown us that there are some things happening. You've really put a lot of light on the Illuminati and their program and how they do it and the stuff they put out in the media. And you're right. They tell us what they're going to do before they do it. Yeah. Yeah, I found a reason not to quit smoking. I saw that. I saw that. Oh, well, what do you do? Yeah, psychic seer warrior. Yeah. Oh, and like I say, I just we'll just have to watch and see what happens. We really don't have anything else we could do. Yeah, the amazing Monty is in the house, and he knows I have a lot of respect for him. We've had oh, oh, Nancy's with him too. Oh, good. Nancy's saying hi to Monty as well. Monty's a character. He's extreme. Like I said, he's extreme. And I'm not patting him on the back. I'm not brown nosing him. It's just he suffered so many bad things over the years with people accusing him of stuff that it's just wrong. It's just wrong. And he does have insights that a lot of other people don't. He points us in the right direction, and that's good. It's just like I say, though. I think maybe you know, seeing a bat in a movie, somebody holding a baseball bat and then moving that over to the idea of bats and soup. I don't know. I think that's going a little too far. At least it is for me. Good conversation though. Good discussion. He'll probably say, "Oh, Roy, I remote viewed you last night. Pop me yourself." Let's see. Okay, okay, I'll do that, Monty. I'll do that. Uh, uh, he probably, if he remote views, he probably watches me all the time. Oh boy, that could be bad. And it's not satanic, by the way. It really isn't. It's just everything is electrical. Everything is quantum, and our minds can actually enter that level. If you're religious, um, God says all things are present with Him. But anyway, uh, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I won't go any further. I think that's probably going to be it. Let's see what else we have here. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, Trump has been exposed, and that could easily take him out. Easily. Your ice cream. Why? Because you said so. I gave you credit. I said, well, you said something happened on the ninth, and it did. The stock market took a dive, and they shut it down. That's pretty damn good, buddy. That's pretty damn good. You study those things. You know that stuff. I know you do. Absolutely. Yeah, Diane Nolan, she's saying we're on our own now, right? It's time to prepare ourselves for whatever we have to face in the future. Absolutely. And I think we've been saying that for a long time. Even Monty says it all the time. He says, that's right. He looked pretty stressed the other day. He says, you know, we're going out and not to lunch. He says they're coming for us. This is the end. Well, I don't think it's going to be the end, Monty. See, that was the nice thing. He did text me and he said, "Thanks for adding." When I talked about the tunnel thing, and I asked him if he had seen it, he says, "Yeah," because I wanted to know I mentioned him. And he says, "Yeah, thanks for adding the religious aspect of it." So, we work together. And that's another thing that Jeremy was talking about last night. And it's an old thing. We're not all hands, we're not all feet. We're not, you see what I'm saying? We all have a different function. And none of us can say that the rest of us aren't necessary. So we all have something to put into the into the recipe. I'll just say it that way. We all have something to put into the recipe uh, to bake what it is we're doing. And I don't want to say the other thing because I'm not a Q guy, but you get the idea. We all have a little bit to put into it. We all have a job to do. Trump's job is to expose evil. Apparently, it isn't to bring justice. Maybe he realized that. I just wish he'd leave the Second Amendment alone and support the First and Fourth Amendments. But I don't know if he has the ability to do that. Okay. McCrazy Lala saying, was Monty with Nancy Pelosi? He's with Nancy Morgan Hart of Headlines with the Voices here. And so they're both chatting here on the chat together. Yeah, Monty's an entertainer too, walking the narrow path. He says, "Hi, Monty. I love your super late night streams or early AM. Good times." Yeah, they are. It is. It's like a party. It really is. I agree. I used to comment when I watched those quite a bit, but then people would, talk to me instead of Monty, so I didn't. I don't talk much on there. Oh, jeez. I'm not even gonna repeat that, Monty. I'm not gonna repeat that. You guys are going at each other. I guess that looks like a friendly spat there. It doesn't mean much. Dow is up right now. Yeah, Jackie Koo. Yeah, it's up right now. But remember, what they're doing here is they're artificially propping it up now. I mean, it's real obvious. I'm not even a financial guy, and I can see that they're out there. They're doing everything they can to keep this thing up. They're not going to be able to do it. Not with the supply chains being interrupted. It's just not going to last. They're going to play games with it, and then all of a sudden it's going to crash hard. When? I don't know. You guys are having a nice conversation. Well, thanks, Diane. That's not. She says, Roy, you and Monty are my favorites to listen to. Well, that's good. Monty and I were going to get together and actually do a live stream together at the same time, but we just never been able to pull that off. I mean, actually in the same place, being on the same program, but we've just never been able to do that for a number of reasons I won't get into. Black coffee, no more caramel cream. Well, let me tell you what the caramel cream is. I'm not adding a creamer, Richard, just so you know. I don't like creamers. Um, it's actually just a caramel cream coffee. Okay, it's not. It doesn't have the creamer added to it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like French roast or when they put the amaretto into those things. It's I don't use creamer, so that's all right. But it hasn't. Even if that were the case, it hasn't changed my testosterone. I've told people, I said, man, I'm like I was when I was, in my 20s. And I'll just leave it at that. Uh, It's, sometimes it really gets in the way. Yeah, I know you're kidding, but there might be something to that. You never know all the additives they put into those crazy things. Yeah, President Trump was exposed to Corona walking the narrow path. uh, both at CPAC and on Air Force One, and I would suspect a lot of other places because that would make sense. Use this thing. I mean, it's the perfect uh, sapper weapon. If you know what a sapper is, it's somebody who sneaks through the lines under the wire, infiltrates. I wouldn't be surprised that somebody who's deliberately exposed could be. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi was hugging him at one time. Of course, that was quite a while ago, but lots of ways to infect people. I'm not going to get into the third temple and all that business because I think that's a distraction. Even the evangelicals are off on the wrong track. If you look, and I'm not going to go into why today, but the real location that we have to watch is a place called Shiloh. That's what we have to watch, not Mount Moriah. No, that's not it. The real deal is going to happen at the old area where Shiloh was. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I've been there many, many times. Of course, when I went to college, but I also grew up in Maryland, and used to go up to Gettysburg all the time. Yeah, all of Italy is under martial law and closed down right now, and we're not. We're about 3 weeks behind. The temple is within. I like that. You can have an outward temple. There's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, the temple within is the really important part. Yeah, we are the temple. Yeah, I agree. Eugene the Dance Machine. Dave Rice says that's all Monty needs on his show now. You guys are having great conversations together. I'm happy about that. Yeah, yeah. Quest for Truth. The Chinese delegates were in the Oval Office mid-January. I know. That's what I'm saying. He's probably been exposed to it already. Um, yeah, we'll know shortly. I mean, he can't. That stuff can lay dormant in there for a little while. Of course, it's been a long time now, January to now. I mean, he'd have to have had it. He looked a little run down there. Now I think about it, he looked a little run down there this last week. So it could be that he's already got it. A dead cat bounce. Yeah. Okay, we've been going for how long here? Almost an hour. I know you were kidding about the coffee. Okay, Monty, I gotta say, as he's talking to Richard Least, he says, "You cannot clip a good party. It's like sex. Make it last and all." Hi, Liza Jean. I'm glad you're here. Hi. Roosevelt came on the other day too. He had been off for a long time. He said he was fatigued. He had chronic fatigue. We haven't seen Case Smalls either, actually. But thank you for being here, Liza Jean. Too much information. I know, but I'm just quoting. I'm just quoting Monty. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Just addressing some of the things he's saying. Oh wow. Yeah. Fat Nose Jones. Why have you forsaken me? I'm not sure. Yeah, Richard Leese. I'm so tired of opium from Q. It's unbelievable. It's infiltrated. Apparently, it even infiltrated some other places. Yeah, I tell you. I started following Amazing Polly. I'm sure some of you know who she is. She's in Canada, in Ontario, I think. Wow, intelligent lady. Always has some good information. Um, but when she starts talking the Q stuff, I turn it off. No disrespect. I mean, the initial cue was what? Oh, Hillary's already been indicted, and they're getting ready to arrest her. I think the date was going to be like October, no, November 19th or something like that, 2008, 17. That kind of stuff just went on for too long. And then the final thing with as most of you know, that finally got me upset to the point where I just couldn't handle it anymore was the DEFCON 1 debacle there in January of 2018. But I always questioned it, because it didn't make much sense. But it was a good conversation piece. It was good information to talk about, but you couldn't set your watch by it. You just couldn't. I think Linda W.'s saying Melanie. I think you mean Melania Trump. Cannot be cut down. She's strong. Yeah, she's younger. She's strong. Yeah. Um, okay, we're just about an hour here. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Oh, there's no way I'll be able to go through all this. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm sorry I can't. Plus, you guys have other things to do too. We've got to keep an eye on what's happening this week. Uh, um, I think catastrophes are in the works. They are. You got to be prepared for this. And even Monty said, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing any of us can do except maybe just keep warning everybody, and maybe somebody who can do something will finally get there. But I think it's out of our hands at this point. They're too powerful. Uh, they've been allowed to fester and make pustules and all that. These evil people for so long that they're so well entrenched. it's going to take it's going to take somebody really powerful to get rid of him, and apparently it's not even Trump. So yeah, it's definitely not 40 chess. That's for sure. Yeah, Daniel Grant saying a lot of our Canadian patriots follow Amazing Polly. The Q thing makes me skeptical of any of them. Yeah, I know, but you know, if you read, and I don't want to come down hard. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, Daniel, but the way I look at it is, uh, you get your news, like I said earlier, from the mainstream media. You still get news from there. That doesn't mean that you accept it or even go along with it. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't. Q's more accurate than the MSM, but you don't want to get locked into where it's the end all. You don't want to do that. By the way, did I tell you what Yekazkale? I always have trouble with that one. Yekazkale, Ezekiel means? It means judge of God, by the way. Isn't that interesting? All right. Yeah, I think we're done. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's coming up on an hour here. Man, there are so many comments. You know how I like to do? I like to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then tell you what I told you. And so, Urim and Thummim, yeah. Sometimes people themselves are Urim and Thummim. Did you know that? Urim and Thummim is an outward thing, but you can actually become a Urim and Thummim yourself. Did you know that? Yeah. Uh, so, what I said today was that there's a great division happening, and that Trump has done an excellent job in revealing the evil side that's in our country, in our world. He hasn't acted on it. Maybe that's not something he's supposed to do in the long run. But I do wish that he would support the Bill of Rights better than he does, because he doesn't do that well at all. As a matter of fact, he's worked against it. But he has revealed the evil for all of us to see and to choose what side we're going to be on. So that's what I was talking about. Then I talked about Ezekiel with the mark that's placed on the people that are lamenting and mourning for the wickedness of the land, that God has told his angels to go forth and mark those people that are mourning this wickedness and wish it wasn't there, that they will be sealed and not touched by the other angels with the slaughter weapons in their hands to kill those who don't have that mark. And that mark is what? The Tav, which is the cross in Hebrew, and it means nailed to the cross. And you can make the other connections as you want. Alrighty, thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to see if I can fix my computer, I promise. But this phone thing probably isn't too bad anyway. It's probably a little easier to use. And you don't have to put up with all the music and nonsense. All right. Thanks for coming. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Keep your eyes and ears open. Eyes on the horizon, ears to the ground. Situational awareness on high. I hope you have your preparations as best you can. No one, no one can get completely, prepared. I mean, your house can get hit by a hurricane and everything get destroyed anyway. But you just need to make the effort. The effort's what counts. Okay, and keeping your eyes open and being watchers. I don't mean the watchers from the fallen angels. Or the Anunnaki or any of that. I'm talking about we should be watchers on watchtowers. Aware of what's going on. That's what's really important for us. Okay. Yeah, watchmen on the wall. That's right. Oh, okay. Captain Carl's here. Hi, Captain Carl. How you doing? Yeah, Isaiah 21:6, Watchmen. Yeah, exactly. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for everything. God bless y'all.